Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ryan Cook with Cook and Foltz Talks with the Masters, and this week we are so lucky to have the living legend, Bob King, sitting here with us with the by far the coolest backdrop that's has been done to date. Ryan Villiers, I'm very sorry, but I just have to say he's got it all. I mean, we've got this.
Wow.
We're so excited to have you, Bob. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I mean, I'm kind of honored about this. I mean, this is really cool. I did my hair special for you, Ryan. I've got COVID hair going on, and Cindy helped me out. This is the longest my hair has been since 1983.
Okay, so we have Bob King, who is one of the best sculptors in the world, and my best friend and partner in this adventure, Chris Foltz, and his beautiful wife in the background, Kendra. Can you just give us like a quick background? How did you get started in chainsaw? And when did chainsaw carving find you? How did this all come about?
How did this all come about? That's probably the most asked question to me. Just over 20 years ago, I was working for Boeing and local fair here, the Puyallup Fair. We attended that, my wife and my kids and I. And there was a local carver there. There was a couple, and I just like to watch those guys. So I sat there and stared at them for a couple of hours, and you know, I was just that guy on the other side of the ropes or the screen or whatever, and just completely enthralled with what I was seeing. And I remember thinking after a while, I was thinking, man, you know, this doesn't look that tough. I might be able to do this. I told Cindy first, I said, you know, Cindy, I think I want to buy one of these guys' bears. And she says, you're not going to buy one of those bears, just make your own. So, well, all right, well, you know, why not? You know, so I decided I would give that a try.
Really?
Yeah, a good friend of mine gave me a piece of wood. It sat at my house for a couple of weeks because I was scared of ruining it. And I finally jumped in on it, made my first bear. It took 3 days. Nice. And when I got done, it looked like a bear. So I'm winning at this point in my mind. And it just kind of took hold from there. So many of these guys and gals out there know this feeling where it's like, oh my gosh, look what I did. My first real competition was in Westport, and that's where I got to see all these people, all these extremely talented artists from all over the place gather, and they had different tools. They had carving bars and things, and I didn't know about those. Suddenly your work is driven a little more towards, okay, I need to afford this, plus pay some bills, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I always get asked a lot by carvers, where do you get started? How do you get started? And I always say to them, like, go to a competition, kind of like get your feel, see what other carvers are using, and literally you can come into a competition, and if you go to the right competition, you can end up being in front of Bob King, Chris Foltz, Ryan Cook, and see the tools they're using, see the times, the things that they actually use. Now, for yourself, when you did that, how did you go about kind of going at your first competition? When you went to the first event, were you planning on like doing a singular thing? What was your move? What do you remember back then to what it was that you kind of mentality wise went with?
I was petrified because I had a very, very little experience. I went in as a pro because I thought, you know, why not? Just go for broke. And this is at Westport. And I say that my first real competition, it was a big competition. I'd been to a couple of real small ones. I decided I was going to make three leaping dolphins. And it was from, I'm trying to remember if it was a figurine or something, maybe a picture. It just showed some action. And of course it's Westport, so it's the coast. So I wanted to hit the theme. And I don't know, at the time I probably had a couple others by then, you know. And lots of ambition was there and enthusiasm, but I was petrified, and I got through it through sheer determination and fear, I think, of not finishing. My goal was to finish, and always has been, finish and finish it well, no matter the size.
Yeah. And how did you do? That's the question. How did you do your first competition? Did you finish?
I did finish it, and I may be wrong. Steve Backus could probably correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure, and Cindy would surely correct me. I think I placed seventh,
Seventh?
maybe. I hit seventh place a lot for a while, and it was like I was stuck there.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Now you're going to prompt me to look back on that.
that's okay. Seventh is better than last.
12th. I don't know. It's something I don't keep a lot of track of because it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So
when you really
how many carvers were there?
How many carvers were at Westport that year? There was at least. There's going to be. I'm sure there was between 35 and 40, possibly more than that, because it grew. They were pulling in 50 competitors. Like Reedsport would get at that point. Westport was doing that, so it was big. It was called the big one.
That's really cool.
That's
now,
right. That's right.
you mentioned Cindy, who I think is one of the most amazing women that I've come across in the carving world. How was she when you first decided, aside from just telling you to carve your own bear, how was it when she said, okay, you're going to leave a secure job at Boeing and you're going to start chainsaw carving? What was she okay with? What was that like? I mean, she seems such like a supportive woman.
I don't know her exact words, but it was right along the lines of, "Are you out of your mind?" And straight face, I said, "No, I can do this. I can do this.
That's awesome.
I have to do this."
Yeah.
So we did, and we're doing it.
The two different styles that you guys have, and if people haven't watched the intro to Chris and I talking, you guys should go back and watch that, because Chris said something really cool. Or no, fuck it. We'll talk about it right now. You guys are two dramatically different carvers. Now, Bob, this is geared towards you. So when you started to create a style, which is a very prolific style, in my opinion, how did you kind of get the idea to start like incorporating these amazing scenes out of these big logs and kind of taking away the idea that carving once was one sculpture, one piece, one big bear, one big log? When I look at your pieces, there's so many different elements that interconnect to each other. Where did that inspiration come from?
That inspiration, that's a great question. I get asked that quite a bit. Familiar with Norman Rockwell?
Mm-hmm.
Look up Norman Rockwell. I have his books. I have little trinkets and whatnot.
You're talking about Saturday Evening Post, right?
Correct. Yeah, very.
For anybody that doesn't know, that's where you would. Yeah, it's where you find his work. Saturday Evening Post. Which is,
he was very popular there. If you look at his work, it's a little fun capture of time, and you can look at those images, paintings of his, and you can see, you can instantly tell what's happened just before that image, what's going on in those people's minds during, and what's going to happen after that. So I think that's great. It tells a story. It's fun, and you can just follow along it. And for me, when I look at those images, I never forget those. I carry those around in my head. I want my carvings to do that too. When you walk away and leave, not every one of them work that way. I try, but when you leave the shows or whatever where I've been carving and seeing some of my work, I want you to carry that with you. I want you to think about that little scene that I've made and know what happened before, and then there's that shot and what's going to happen next. I want it to tell a story.
I remember, I think the first one I saw that you did in Reedsport was called the Apple. It was a horse, if I remember right, a horse, a fence, a chicken, and then a girl holding an apple feeding the horse. And then it said, it had the title up front, burned really deep, a really nice bass. And that was very much that style that you were doing, and maybe very much pioneered. I don't know, because I didn't see anything before that, so I wouldn't know necessarily where it came from. But that was my first scene in the carving community, seeing that.
Yeah, thank you. I love that sculpture. I made that twice. Once in England.
Cool.
And another, I like the concept so well. I thought, man, I'm going to try that again. I want to see if I can do it better.
When you start with your block out, do you go, like, just say for a wolf, for instance, because I've watched you carve wolves. Is there a set pattern in your brain that you can go bang, 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 I got it? Is there something that in your head you've come up with?
There is, Ryan. Yeah, it's and what it goes back to for me is learning bone structure, skeletons. Okay.
Yep.
Canine is a canine is a canine, whether you're doing a schnauzer or a wolf. The skull is a lot the same. So if your sculpture can't contain a skeleton, you're not going to fool anyone. So with that said, then you look at the actual a shot of a good wolf, and with the fur and all that, depending on what time of year it is, sometimes they're a little thinner. Sometimes they're very full if it's very cold winter, maybe. So you take those into consideration, and you look at, for lack of a better word, like the facets, the angles that are very important that you expect to see, because you're using wood. It's not soft and fluffy. You have to somehow bring that out. So with a wolf, to me, it's a bunch of triangles. Okay.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. And with those triangles, I know that the eyes lie in direct line between the tip of the nose and the center line of the ear.
Oh.
The eyes have to be in there, pretty close to the center. Okay, give or take. In a speed carve, it's give or take. You just want to get it in there and make it look as exciting and dynamic as you possibly can with the time you're given.
Yeah.
That's what sells. That's what you're working for, is a sale in a speed carve, not some judgment. But anyways, that's my method. And I know, from repetition, I kind of have it in my brain where the placement of the ears go. If their ears are laid back and it's irritated, or if they're perked up and it's focused on something, just like a horse, that can tell a story about the attitude of the horse or the wolf or whatever,
Okay. For me, I mean, you and Chris are two completely different competitors. When you kind of begin to create the idea of a piece, is there something other than, what do you go for with your focal point of the piece? Is there something when you're going for a judgmental piece, like if you know the judges are going to be looking at it, do you try to place anything in particular places when you're doing that? Or is there a strategy when you go into a competition?
That's a great question, Ryan. Yeah, there is always a strategy, and it stems from a few things. Okay, of course you've got a theme, and I try to adhere to that as much as possible. I want it to be exciting, but I also, in the past, I study the judges if I know who they are. If they're an educated judge, and I don't mean to, that's not a negative thing, but if they're an artist, Reedsport used to have some great artists as judges. I can look at their work and see what they lean towards. Okay.
Yeah.
Worked many times. And I'm going to kind of gear my work towards that a little bit. Eye level stuff, I mean, how you view things, perspective is very important, and on how things are placed and viewed. And when you walk around the sculpture, what makes you keep wanting to walk around and discover more about that piece of work. those things are kind of important to me when
Yeah.
planning something.
And what type of planning do you do? Are you a figurative drawer? Are you kind of just the sketcher and put it in placements? What do you go into when you know you're going to a competition? Are you going in with an overall theme, or are you going in with like you look at Chris, for instance, who's just down below us, who's, you know, looking good. Yeah, he's looking good. He'll prepare for weeks, you know. It's so annoying. It's the worst thing ever in the world, because you know when he's going to be there. He's coming with templates. He's coming with everything that's going to frustrate a guy like me, because I try to copy him a lot. But for yourself, when I competed with you against yourself and you and Chetwin, I did not know what you were doing the whole time. And well, I did, but I didn't see you draw. I didn't really see you do much. Granted, I was looking at my own piece, but you looked like you had a plan, but you looked like it wasn't regimented.
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. That piece in Chetwin, actually, that was one of the few that I really gave a lot of thought to. And the reason being is a few years before in Germany, I'd carved the Grim Reaper in Germany, and I got a lot of great feedback on that. It was a fantastic sculpture. I'm very proud of that. But
As was the one in Chetwin. That was a unreal sculpture. The picture's below, so everyone can see it right now. So don't worry about that. You don't have to describe it.
I love that sculpture. Now, to answer your previous question, I don't draw. I can't draw. I'm very envious of those who can. I don't, and for that reason, I still have trouble considering myself an artist, because, man, I'm so envious of people that can put those ideas on paper, and I just can't. I just have to glean things from what I see and remember it. And I fly by the seat of my pants. I rarely plan. Some of Cindy and I's biggest spats have been on the way to a big show. What are you going to carve? I was like, I don't know. I got to see my log.
Wow.
Well, I know some of the carvers are like, oh, BS. He knows what he's going to do. He's got this. No, I don't. I have to see my log. I have got to see the log and see what I can fit in this big cylinder. It can always change. Now, Chris's style, he could theoretically scale his work up or down, or he can piece things together. If he doesn't have enough right in here, he can pull that chunk that he needs to fit there from the top or wherever, fill in the blank. You know what I'm saying? He can break that log down and do his sculpture. He knows that.
Yeah.
I'll have maybe a couple of things I'm thinking I'd like to do, but when I get to the show and it's like, okay, we're going to draw logs, right? And I get the last draw, a fantastic example of this, and my favorite sculpture probably ever was in Denmark. I remember Simon O'Rourke and I, we were the last draw. We got the last pick of these logs, oak logs. And we both look at each other and like, man, there was just nothing really left. So we walked over to this scrapped wood pile, some scraggly old logs that were kind of bent and laying off to the side. And that's where we got our logs from. Now, when I stood mine up, I am not kidding you, right in front of me, I saw it, I visualized it. There's a Viking warrior. He's screaming, and he's got I visualize him with this big sword, his saber, and his severed head in his hand. It was the bend of the log. I didn't have to take hardly any wood off. It was there. It was so exciting to carve that, because you saw it and it was like, I know exactly what I'm going to make. And it took me very little time really to create this. And it was so much fun. Shit. But it was all right there. I don't know. I'm not going to pump myself. It just worked, you know.
That's one of my
sweet. That was a sweet piece. That thing was awesome.
That's one of my favorite pieces.
It was so
when we were together up in Ocean Shores. Was it last year? I'd love to know, like, when you have, so you did that, the main piece that you did up there, the fish skeleton, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
So I was like, I remember looking at that, and I'm a calculator. I'm always trying to calculate what's the next move, what's the, calculate how to win, right? Or how to do whatever it is. And I saw you working on that, and I was like, I mean, I've never seen anybody do a giant fish skeleton, and it was competition for auction, which very much is quick carve concept.
Right.
And I was watching you put that together, and then you, but here you come out with this completely unique piece, and it does incredibly well at auction. Do you have any idea about, like, how would you explain that to someone? How would you explain that to me to help me? Because you're my friend, so help me understand. Like, how do I go into that into a quick carve setting? And
Hey, Chris, here's the thing. Now, let's go
writing
back.
this shit down, by the way.
Me too.
My inspiration from that piece of work came from Denmark. The same year we were over there, and an artist had done a sculpture of a kind of a fish skeleton like that in a epoxy clay. It was big. It was fantastic, very dynamic, but it was just this big fish skeleton, and I thought, that's it. That's nautical, and it's just totally, now key word here, Chris, it's different. It's different than everybody else's, and that's what I want. I want it to grab you and you got to feel like, holy crap, because
how about the base? Let's explain the base a little bit. I'd love to hear the story again.
go out on the beach and drag some driftwood in to make some kind of bait. I needed it to be elevated, right?
Right.
Another key point, folks. Cindy drives this home with me. Get the scope, even put it on a base so you can see it. Perspective, remember?
Yeah.
Right.
Great. So when it's placed in the auction and those audience members are sitting in chairs, their line of sight is here. If it's up a little bit over everybody else's, they have a little more time to look at it and maybe consider it, right? And so the base is kind of important. It was driftwood, so it looks kind of cool. It fits with the fish, that kind of thing. So
I think that you're spot on with that, because perspective is one of the keys. Like you said, you have to make your piece. I remember I think it might have even been you that told me that in Chetwynd, that the judges are literally walking around a piece and they're only 5, let's say 4.5 to 6.5 feet tall. And if you have an 8-foot piece and your eye line is up here, they're not going to connect with that. People are looking for a connection. And if you're like this, that's how you're going to connect to your audience.
Stuff is really important to focus on.
Yeah. And something for myself, like when I'm doing my sculptures is I look into, and this is what any carver who would like to, when they're commissioning a job, for myself, I mean, this is inside my world. I'm sure you guys do something similar, but for myself, when I'm talking to someone, I don't just say, hey, you want a bear? Okay, cool. Where do you want, you want a bear standing forward? I say, no. How about you send me a picture of where that bear is going to live, so I can look to where the focal point is going to be. And if the bear is looking to the right and your driveway is to the right, and you want that picture to be there, then I can carve it custom for you. So you have that visual of a connection to fall in love with every time you see your piece. You can see it. So that's something for myself, which is in competition, and at the same time, for anyone who's trying to quote a job, you can kind of say, hey, where is this going to live? Maybe you don't need to do as much detail in the back because there's a doorway here, and you want and you have a limited budget, and you say, okay, well, we can focus here. And then
you're spot on. You are right on with that. this applies to a stump job. Let's say that.
Yeah,
When you go and
absolutely.
bid a stump job, I'm a perspective nut. I'm going to look at where this is going to be viewed from, whether it's driving down the street, coming up a driveway, walking down a entry walkway. Is there a common area in the house, a window that they're going to be able to see it? So we want a profile, probably to show up, you know, so they can enjoy it. Now, they might have a 12-foot stump, but if the line of sight at the top of that window from the inside of their dining area only hits 6.5 feet, unless it's going to be really seen a lot from the outside, anything above there is, to me, yeah, you can carve it and it'll be fantastic, but I don't know. I'm not going to waste their money.
Absolutely.
This is where I run into an issue, because I start doing a piece and then I don't even think about it's afterwards, and I'm like, I find myself so often doing that where I'll do something for somebody and afterwards I'm there to collect, you know, it's finished, it's installed, and I'm in their front room, I'm looking out the window, I'm like, shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it looks great from the mailbox. I don't know if you guys have checked it out from there.
Yeah, that
You know.
for me, I've always kind of, I don't know, I haven't always done that. I've just recently adapted my way of approaching the clientele, because, you know, one thing for me also is that I probably shouldn't be saying it, but you know what, screw it. Like, this is what people, if people are actually watching this far into this, then here's what we're really talking about. But for myself, when I'm talking about a job, I will say to someone like, visually, where are we looking? Where are we going? What do you want accomplished? Because to me, I don't care about this piece after the fact that I get my Instagram, Facebook picture. Other than that, you have to love it. So let's customize it for you. If you need a frog down at the bottom, let's make it so it's looking at your pathway coming up the stairs. If you have the 12-foot eagle, you know, a big eagle blowing up at the top, that's looking at your front door. And
Right.
that is such an important thing that I think that any carver starting out, or any person who really takes this job seriously, should think about doing that. And also you can factor that into your budgeting, because if there's negative dead spaces and they have a shitty budget, you can go, okay, cool, well, we have this spot where is nothing. I can just fluff and puff and do some bark, you know, take a Mampa grinder and buff it out down to
There's a lot of options, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that people, when they're thinking about doing sculptures, a lot of the time, prior to knowing these things or being in the game for a long time, you're just thinking of the dollars and cents and getting that shit done and making your piece fucking awesome, you know? But
yeah, it happens a lot. And yeah, and some of them, that's just the way they're going to go.
yeah,
You know, it's
and
not
true.
bad or good.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But I mean, if we can help anybody in saying, hey guys, like, think about that when you're talking to somebody, because you know, my thought in this whole thing, and I wanted to kind of talk about this, and sorry I'm going on a rant, but I wanted to get this out, was that these kind of conversations that we're having is different. Because for myself, like, I find that I'm almost confident enough in where I'm at as a carver to be ready. You told me, Bob, that's exactly what it was. You told me when I first started, be ready for the haters, because they are going to come at you. And you've done so many awesome things for me that I will get into, that I wanted to say thank you for. But you told me right away, was when I was kind of having a tough time with saw dogs, you told me that you're going to be alone at the top, and you're not at the top, but you're going to be alone in this game, and you have to be ready for it. Sorry, the freaking bug, but that was something that always stuck in my mind, that for me, in doing this, I found the confidence. Now I'm getting to my point. I found the confidence to be able to go, you know what? I'm confident enough now that I can talk about these kind of secrets. So for a guy who's starting out, or a girl who's starting out, or for whoever is starting out, you can do it, and I'm not worried about telling you my secrets, because now I'm confident enough that I can handle saying, this is how I do this texturing. You know, back in the day when I first started carving, no one wanted to tell their secrets because everyone was worried about job security. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
now I feel like I have it. I know you have. I know all of us have it. So I feel like it's a really cool thing to be able to talk to people and just be open about it, you know? I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if that
Here's
made
the thing,
sense,
Brian.
but
You can the secrets that I've learned real quickly. That's kind of entertaining because I can learn the secrets of Chris Foltz, and I can do what Chris Foltz is doing. You know, I can assemble, but nobody's work is going to look like Chris's,
yeah.
mine included, right? I'm going to have my own style. So that secret you learned, yeah, you learned a little something new, something different, but you're going to put your own style in it, and it's moot point. It didn't really do much other than give you a new option to work with, a new little thing, you know, to tuck in the back of your brain and use and pull it out when you see it fit, you know. Right. So yeah, protecting secrets and what I don't have any of. Cool. Now, Ryan, I want to say what's interesting to me about you is, for lack of a better description, is you are a created chainsaw carver. You were created. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Totally.
You had no idea going into Saw Dogs that you were going to be a chainsaw carver. I'm certain of that.
Absolutely. I had no idea what chainsaw carving was.
You got the bug. You had some free time sitting around. You probably didn't have a green room, but you know, you're hanging out, chewing the fat with the guys, and it's like, I'm just going to try this out. And there were people there, Chris, Mark, so many that were willing to say, well, yeah, you should. Why not? Why shouldn't you try this? You've got nothing to lose. I've always said that. You've got nothing to lose. You use a little bit of gas, waste some time. You've tried something new. If you hate it, it's fancy firewood. You can burn it. You know, when you start out, it's firewood. When you're done, it's still firewood if you hate it.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, why not? But I think it's really cool because you were created, and look where you've gone. You're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
Anybody, I really believe anybody can carve because there are so many different levels of the work that we sell. There is still the folk art market, what we used to call the square bears.
Yeah.
People love them.
Yep.
You know, they're little quirky, funky little bears. There's carvers out there that make thousands on those little guys, and they do them over and over and over because they're doing good. I think it's great. Everybody's got their little place that they like to be, and I think it's fun. And to see you come up from that just proves my point that people can learn this.
How did you go about creating something that was not even a thought? How did you think that Echo was going to, how did you get sponsored by Echo? I know there's Mark, I know there was Jason Emmons, but how did you guys create the Echo carving team, and how did it just, I don't know, catapult, landslide? How did this all morph into you becoming, you know, one of the most pivotal sponsored chainsaw carvers in the world?
Well, you know, first off, I'm going to start off by just mentioning that there's quite a number actually of carvers before myself.
Of course.
They did get it. Maybe it just wasn't so visible because the social media wasn't around. You know, the competitions were getting going, but Don Culp, Donna too. There's so many that actually did. For myself, you know, and it was for a few reasons. And just a brief list would be: they said they appreciated my professionalism. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wear my safety gear. See, now they put their brand on someone. I'm a tool, long and short. That's what it is. I'm a marketing tool, just like Mark was, and you know, some other guys. They're going to use that tool, but they want that tool to to represent them well. So you're visible, you're well spoken, you wear the safety gear. Plus, it doesn't hurt to have a good product.
Yep.
That goes along with your visibility. Okay. With that said, I didn't knock on doors. I didn't make phone calls. They contacted me. I'm not bragging myself up. It's just the way it happened. The same with Makita. That's my current sponsor. They take very good care of me. Cannon Bars and Manpaw. These people, they support our industry, our carving. They're passionate about what we do, and they want to continue that. And
you know, when you're doing the sponsorships and you're playing the game, you gotta have the social media, you gotta have the presence, and also like what I always factor in and what people don't take into consideration is the amount of travel you're going to do to get in front of people. And everybody always thinks that it's if you got a fucking 1,000 followers on YouTube and you're doing this and you're doing that and you got a 500 on Instagram, you're gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's if you're doing shows, that's the real thing. When you're talking and you're articulate, I think that's a really big
with
thing.
Those people. We've all seen it. Now, we've all been at those shows where there'll be people, when you shut your saw off, tell me if you've been here.
Yep.
You shut off your saw, and there's a guy standing there, maybe 3 or 4 behind him, and he wants to ask you a question. He asks you the battery of questions. Did you used to be a logger? Did you do this all with a chainsaw? There's so many. And you carry on this conversation, but he wants to connect. He wants to learn about what you do and where you came from. Fantastic. How many people do you figure we get at a big competition daily, you know? At the end of a really good show, you've got 30, 40,000 people who've gone through and at least watch one of us. And they've made notes mentally of those brands. So I feel as a marketing tool, we've got a far better pull than the homeowner or the tree faller, the tree service folks, the logger. They're important jobs, and those guys, you know, they bust their butts for what they do. But we're just a little different entity. So before we get too much farther along, I was going to ask Chris, you know, the first time I saw you carve was in Reedsport, and you carved the moon.
The moon.
Yeah, the moon. And it was kind of interesting because through Don, Don, for those of you out there, is a friend of Chris's from the tribe. And Don had mentioned Chris to me a few times. Oh, he's an up and coming carver. He's gonna do well someday. And it's like, okay, I hear that a lot, but that's cool. But I saw Chris's work. It's interesting. At Reedsport, he carved the moon, and I've seen that carved umpteen times before. Yeah, it's really cool and it's endearing. But what Chris did, it caught my eye from 50 feet away. Maybe that was a perspective, Chris.
Right.
In the base, just in front of it, he blackened the base, and he took his angle grinder and he just scribbled and ground out the reflection in the water of the moon in the black char of this. And then now you can do this with the spruce because it's a very white wood.
Right.
But for me, that was like, it was like, oh my gosh, look at, it wasn't just a carved moon. I was enamored by that little touch.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, he caught more than just carving something. He caught perspective and how this is to be viewed from a distance, not just right there in front. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I don't know if it makes a difference to you, but that really, it grabbed me as like, Wow. Okay. So Don was right. This guy's going to do okay. Holy crap.
That was awesome. That I remember that. I remember that show. I remember you did the sculpture of the boy. All dogs go to heaven. That
Oh
year,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
I think it probably
I
was.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down to the left.
And I was talking to Ryan about this last week, and
That's crazy. Did you guys talk about this or no?
no.
I'm like blown away that the
No.
fact that you both told me the same story. Literally.
Did you? Well, this is actually how we met. This is actually like, I mean, we had met before this.
You and I, Chris,
The
talked
year
about
before.
this. You and I talked about this last week. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
this was like a lead up, like you guys were laying each other up, but did that is absolutely like surreal to me that this is happening.
Yeah.
Tell the
Yeah, and
story,
that
guys,
was
because to
when,
me it's awesome.
yeah, when Bob came up, I had gone. I'm pretty sure the competition was over, and I went to get something to eat or something, and I came back, and my wife was walking around. Kendra was walking around with the boys, and I came around. I saw Bob at my site, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And I saw Kendra, and I was like, "That's fucking Bob King right there, man. He's checking out my shit, dude." I was like, "Holy shit!" So I walked up and I stood next to him, for a minute, and then we just kind of looked at each other and introduced each other, said, "Hey, names and all that," and that was really cool, man. That made I guess if I looked at it now, being later on in my career in carving competition, it really is it's something for all of us to understand. Like if we see something that somebody does, just to say something, just to comment, or to just to make just to connect a little bit, like we were talking about before. It's such a slight connection, such a small piece, just a small connection.
A little tidbit like that goes so far.
Yeah, it means worlds. It was really, really cool.
It makes it worth wanting to continue. It makes you want to continue. And like you.
Are you still working at Boeing?
Sorry?
You still working at Boeing?
Hey, no.
That's awesome.
Go.
I'm in the flight path. I'm in the flight path here.
I just busted balls. But go on.
Yeah.
But
that was cool.
Just one of those things, Chris. It was the contrast was really cool because it was a simplistic form, not taking anything away from it, but that little subtle
no, it was.
That touch is what sealed it for me. I don't know if any of the judges got that. I hope they did.
Right.
Because it was something. It was like that.
Right.
That was cool.
But that's
cool.
Like that.
That story has more to the ending too, right, Chris? Afterwards, because I mean, you told me the story last week, and I mean, I thought it was awesome because you told me that Bob came back up to you afterwards and said,
"Yeah." Well, when you when we stood there and talked for a very brief second, and then he walked away, and then he's if I remember this right, and I hope it's not an imagination, but he stopped and turned around and came back, and you shook my hand and you said, "I just want you to know I'm going to use that someday," and then you walked away.
I'm glad I said something because I don't remember, but I was like that.
Yeah. That was what you said. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember running and telling Kendra, I was like, "You're not going to believe this, Bob. Bob said that he was going to use this thing that I did, and up until that point, to be completely honest, it was like, to me, it was like, well, it wasn't a little thing. It was half of the fucking log, dude. Was this reflection. I mean, it was like half of the log was just flat, and it was black, and it had these little like marks taken out of it. And I didn't think much of it because I was like, well, I had put so much time into that top half to get that moon right. And then looking around at what everybody else had done, like, wow, like I'm so out of place. It took so much effort to get just this freaking little shape out. and then having to do something to finish that log and racking my brain and thinking, you know what, I could try to make it look like a reflection in the water, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But the fact that you got it and said something about it, and then it was freaking awesome. It was really
It was a big step out, Chris, because that you wouldn't have done that in ice carving, would you?
no, well, it's impossible.
Reflection would have done nothing. You wouldn't have seen it.
Right. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
cool.
No, exactly. And that was a big step out to say.
Yeah. You had to make light
That
work
was
for
cool.
You guys
Cool,
are
man.
fucking awesome. I can't even believe I'm sitting here with both of you right now, and you're both my friends. Okay.
There was some questions that some of the people out there had for me. I think
That's
like
that detail into feather pattern. How do you go about doing your feather patterns in birds? I mean, in my opinion, your birds have a style to them. So I agree with this question. How did you come up with, and what are your thoughts on laying in feathers?
how do I do feathers? My thoughts on it are I try not to do patterns. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There are certain layers that kind of need to happen. If you look at and this is in a perched bird, okay?
Yeah.
I love the look of a bald eagle that's when it's cold out and its feathers are kind of ruffled and sticking up and just frazzled looking. That is the look I try to get. So I don't like, personally, myself, from my work, I don't want a regimented feather pattern where each feather is just so and layered perfectly and cleaned up. I don't want that. Now, there's certain feathers that need to happen that way, like the tail feathers.
Yeah.
Or the pin feathers at the tips of the wings when they're folded. Those need to be sort of pretty well defined, but the rest of it, I want to create some lift and some fluff underneath it. So I go in and undercut, and then, for lack of a better description, reinforce that undercut by cleaning up under it a little more. And then I just, when I do them, I blast them out as fast as I can so I don't. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what type of a bar are you using? Are you using a?
Those.
What are you doing when you're creating that? Are you using a Mampa? Are you using power gouge, or what?
No, I'll use a saw and a carving bar for those, and it's typically a lot of the guys and gals like the 43 gauge stuff. Those work good, but sometimes they'll bind in a cut because the thickness of the bar is so close to the thickness of the curve or the cut of the chain that you can't cut curves and such. And a 50 gauge bar is better to me, but that's just personal preference.
I'm in the same.
I just like that, and you'll find, and I struggle heavily with it, that you'll want to do the left side first if you're a right-handed person, because I can cut the right side feathers in really easy because of the way the bar lays on the wood. Right. There's no saw body interference. You do the left side first, you can make the right side look as jacked up as the left side because it's hard to get in tight and close because of the saw body.
Right.
And so I typically will try and do the left side first and make big deep cuts along those feather layers first, reinforce those deep cuts by opening them up a little bit, and then I go back and just slash. I slash really hard on everything, and I don't do it slow and painstakingly. I cut them in as fast as I can and hard and oh gosh, it's so hard to do.
That's what, and watching you do them, the detail that you put into the face, you focus on that for a good amount of time. Yeah. You have a great profile going. But then, when it comes to feather pattern, what I see by watching you, it looks like something between like a great song and an angry like Mike Tyson punch out. You know what I mean? That's basically the best I can explain it. you're just, you know, it seems like there's like a rhythm there, but it's literally just like fucking like that's what, you know what I mean? But I get it. It's from what I can see, you're trying to obtain organic
Absolutely.
That's
randomness.
so true.
I don't want to
know?
see patterns. If I see them, I'm going to try and break them up.
Really? That's
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like so pattern oriented that I can't get my brain. I always think of your eagles when I'm doing it, because
Now the
I
patterns,
actually,
patterns are important around the eyes and the beak and the
yes,
head.
yes.
But the farther it goes out from there, that's where things get crazy, and I'm going to bust it up, and I want to create some lift and fluff on there as much as I can. Again, it's wood, so it's hard to make it look fluffy.
Now here's another thing. So for finishing, now that you've got your pattern, you've used your chainsaw, I have watched your much better looking half and better half and smarter half and awesome partner of yours
Cindy.
use yeah, she is a sanding machine.
Yes, she
And
is.
I have seen her do techniques of sanding that I have copied myself. And she uses a yellow circular thing that I think you sell on your website. Now, what's your website, just so people can go to it? It is.
This is a shameless self-promotion.
Oh, no,
folks.
no, no. I'm going to get to that stuff soon. But I've been looking to find I can't find those things anywhere. You've got tools on your website that are insane. And,
I use every one of them.
and it's this yellow flapper
Radial,
wheel thing. I don't have it personally,
Radial
but I
bristle
watched
brush.
Cindy do it. What is it called?
Yeah, it's called a radial bristle brush, Ryan.
And you
Right.
buy it from where?
Well, we sell them on sawnuts.com.
Sawnuts.com. Okay.
Sawnuts, SAWNUTS.com.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
No.
That tool
But
that tool I ripped off from Ryan Anderson.
yeah,
He was
Ryan,
using it. We
that's
were working
exactly
next to each other, and yeah, I saw that. I was like, where did you get that? Sawnuts.
I saw it in Chetwynd, and then I saw Bob using, or I saw Cindy using it, and then I saw Ryan use it on that Raptor he did. And
Yeah.
Ryan's going to be on here one day very soon. Ryan, we love Ryan Anderson. Here's a picture right here of Ryan.
Teammate.
And he's Makita, and I have a ton of questions for Ryan about managing life and being a Makita rep with a real job, not a carver. But we're not talking about him. We're not talking about him. So I have another question, Bob.
What?
Once you are done your texturing, and the question, I'm moving on from our viewers' question, or our commenters' question. Sorry, bud. Appreciate it. I have a question. Do you ever use airbrush? Are you using rattle cans? Like, what's your take on what's going on now with this? Are you adapting to rattle cans, or airbrushes, or what's happening? Are you just burning and sanding?
All right. So the final finish, coloration and that. So most of it, I used to be burning and sanding. I don't know how to airbrush. I don't know how to paint. I have an airbrush. I don't use it well, so I'm a little afraid of it. With that said, I use a lot of rattle cans, spray cans of transparent or semi-transparent stains. Okay, so
really?
Yeah, and I'll layer those in, and then I use a flapper, buffing sanding thing that we also carry to do some finish sanding to bring out highlights after I've done the aerosol, the staining. And it's just a highlight. Again, we're talking about creating light where there is no light, okay, because it's wood. It doesn't reflect light well, so I have to create it. And so I use the stains for my coloration. Spray paint I don't like to use because it covers the wood.
Yeah.
I like to see the wood grain come through, if at all possible. Have I used spray paint? Yes. In certain instances you do. looks better to do a Raven in a gloss black than just burning it.
Yeah.
And my next question is, where is it? You're gonna find a hard time finding a sculptor more willing to share the art form than Bob King. It's not really
I think that's a great compliment.
It's not really a question,
Not
but
a
more of
question.
an
No, that's not a question.
awesome compliment. And the chainsaw
It
carving
really is.
world is chock full of truly great sculptor artists willing to share, but Bob is second to none. So awesome. Hey, awesome.
Appreciate
We're running
that.
short of questions here. We just get nothing but people saying how amazing you are. That's great.
This is going to be a two-part interview because this is chock full of so much awesome information. But I'm going to wrap it up here because I honestly could sit here and talk to you for so long, Bob. You are to me, you are a living legend. You are one of the most inspirational carvers that I've ever come across. And the things you have done for me prior to carving, prior to even knowing who I was other than just an asshole on Saw Dogs, you stepped out to Echo, to Ed Zinemirsky, and talked to them and said, hey, this kid could be something. You didn't have to do that. You're awesome. You said yes to when I was doing my Saw Valley carving team when I thought that was going to be something awesome. You have just supported me and been awesome my entire carving career, and I know you've been that way to so many carvers, and to be honest, it's just awesome, and you're such an inspirational person, and I can't thank you enough for coming on here. And I know Chris feels the same way. As I watched Chris talk like he was talking to a hero. So you are such a great person to have on this show, and or this, whatever this is.
It's really an honor, and as a group, honestly, Ryan, Chris, as a group, we'll go places. And so I love the camaraderie of our chainsaw carving group, and I love that there's a special place for me in it. I really do. I hold everybody in it and near and dear to my heart. Some folks are a lot closer than others just because I know them better. So I'm very thankful for this. I'm thankful for the folks that take care of me, Makita Cannon and Manpa, my buddy Chris, you, Ryan. We all take care of each other, and what comes around goes around. And
absolutely, man. So let's just fucking wrap her up.
Hey, I have one last question.
Oh, all right.
What is that? Is that your carving back there? That happy face? It looks pretty cool.
Right here. Let me tell you about this.
That is pretty badass.
The artist that gave me this, you might know him.
It does look familiar.
Porter. Foltz.
Porter. Oh.
Under that name.
What's
also known as Ryan?
The baby angel?
Baby angel. Got it.
Is that the baby angel?
That's a baby angel.
This for me at a very young age.
Yeah.
I keep it in my shop. I display it when I can.
That was literally from 10 years ago. That was Baby Angel's first reality of carving. He was doing, I let him use a die grinder, and he pumped those suckers out at the shows with the scraps from all of us. And he would make those and sell them back to the carvers, their own scraps, dude. And Bob was.
I would have bought them. I would have bought it.
He's such a fucking hustler, man. Bob
so awesome.
Bob got that piece, and he told him he would always keep it. Until I saw it tonight, I didn't realize how real that was. That's awesome.
Yep, I take it to shows and I put it out. He may not have seen it at all, but they're there.
Oh my God, Bob! You gotta watch back. Who were we talking about with Baby Angel? Was that Robbie Bass?
Villers, yeah.
Villers.
Right.
Was it? No.
No, I think it was Robbie Bass. I think it was Robbie. So you can go back on YouTube and watch the Robbie Bass interview kind of at the end where we introduce why he's called Baby Angel, and then you can understand that. Yeah. I can't get into that right now, but I have a Baby Angel carving also, and it's my favorite. It's
not the only one, I guess.
It's a duck like this. It's got a droopy nose. I'm gonna take a picture at my shop tomorrow, and I'm gonna have it right here. This is my favorite carving.
So many great stories, dude.
Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate all your time.
Yeah,
Bob, it was awesome seeing you, man. Thanks for coming on, dude.
And
it was great, dude. It's shitty this year not to be able to hang out with you, man, but this was really awesome.
We got plenty more ahead of us, and thanks to everybody that watches this. I really appreciate it. Your time is priceless, and we appreciate it.
I couldn't agree more with Bob and Chris. I'm so thankful to have just these conversations, because if anybody makes it to the end, you guys are fucking true carving fans, and and you understand what it is. So thanks, guys. Bob, you are the best. We want you to come back, maybe even come back as a 3-part conglomerate, and we hammer into somebody else. Chris, you are the man. Bob, tell us where we can find you. Where can everybody find you? What's your Instagram? What's your Facebook? Where can anybody get to?
Chainsaw King and Bob King Sculptor, chainsawking.com, Bob King Sculptor on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. And if you guys need tools, if you're in America, call Bob, because in Canada, I get asked all the time, Ryan, can you sell, or in America, they always ask me, can you sell me something? And I do not ship to America. I always send to Bob. So go to his website, buy from him. He sells everything at the best price, the best shit, the best fucking everything.
If not, I guarantee I'll tell you where you can find it. I promise.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And my man right down here is Chris Foltz, and you can find him at
Chef Chainsaw on Instagram or Divine Sculptures on Facebook. Always there.
And
good to see everybody.
All right.
I'm Ryan Cook, and just figure out where to find me, man. Thanks for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. Give this thing a subscribe right down here if you have sat to the end and watched it, or like it, because it helps this page. It motivates me. It inspires me to keep doing these, and keeps Chris motivated, because I don't know why Chris is motivated to do it, but I am not going to lose this motherfucker. Thanks, guys. Bob,
cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Great talking.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, everyone. See you later.
Thanks for watching.